You know, it's really kind of wild to think how fast the world of robots is changing. I mean, not long ago it was all sci-fi, but now they're becoming part of our everyday lives.
It is, yeah. The pace of advancement is incredible. And one company that's really caught our eye is Unitree Robotics. They're a Chinese startup, and they're doing some seriously impressive stuff with both quadruped robots and, get this, increasingly capable humanoid robots, too.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we've gone all in, gathering a ton of info background on the company itself, the detailed specs of the robots, where they stand in the market, and of course, all the news surrounding their work.
Exactly. We want to break all that down, give you the big picture of what Unitree is doing, their innovations, where they fit in the competitive landscape, and what kind of impact they might have.
So let's get down to it. Who is Unitree and what makes them tick?
Well, Unitree Robotics was founded in May 2016 in Hangzhou, China. And the man behind it all is Wang Xingseng, who's got quite the story. He began developing his first robot dog, called the X-Dog, back when he was a postgraduate student at Shanghai University.
So like a side project?
Yeah, pretty much. But that project generated a lot of buzz, attracted some early investment, and, well, that's what led to Unitree being born.
Wow, from university project to a full-blown robotics company. That's amazing. What's their big goal? What are they striving for?
They've got a pretty ambitious mission to democratize robotics. Basically, they want to make advanced robotics tech more accessible to everyone, and, very importantly, make it more affordable. They started out focusing on high-performance quadruped robots, but now they're diving headfirst into humanoid robots, which is pretty exciting.
We've even seen them featured on major news channels like the BBC, and you mentioned CCTV in China, so they're definitely gaining recognition.
They are, absolutely. Being featured on platforms like those shows that they're becoming a pretty big deal, globally.
So let's dig into those four-legged robots. It seems like that's where they first made their mark. What sets Unitree apart in that world?
Well, one of the fascinating things is that they were among the very first to offer high-performance quadruped robots for retail sale. That's a pretty big accomplishment in itself. And they've kept pushing the boundaries with models like the G2 and the B2.
The G2 especially caught my attention. It's priced at around $2,800, which seems very reasonable. What kind of tech are you getting for that price?
Oh, a lot. The G2 packs a 4D ultra-wide LiDAR system. It's like giving the robot super detailed 360-degree vision, so it can navigate and avoid obstacles incredibly well. It's also got a pretty powerful battery with an option for an even bigger one if you need it. But where it really shines is the AI-driven movement. You can even walk upside down and climb over obstacles with crazy agility.
Hold on, did you say upside down? I gotta hear more about this.
Yeah, upside down. It's a testament to their advanced AI gates. The G2 can handle some pretty complex, unpredictable situations. It's also equipped with their intelligent side follow system, which has gotten a big upgrade, so it can follow someone very accurately. Plus, it has a much longer range for remote control. And if that's not enough, it can jump, stretch, even shake hands.
That's almost more than just functionality, right? It's like they're going for a higher level of control, like sophistication. But Unitree is also targeting those hardcore industrial uses, aren't they? That's where the B2 comes in.
Exactly. The B2 is built tough, specifically for industrial jobs. It can handle much heavier loads, and its battery life is longer, so it's perfect for things like inspections or carrying materials around a worksite. Plus, it's waterproof and dustproof, so it can take a beating.
I also saw something about an earlier model, the Eliengo. How does that fit in?
Oh, the Eliengo was one of their early models, also for industrial use. It had a pretty good payload capacity and speed, which shows how Unitree was thinking about those commercial and industrial needs even back then.
What I find really interesting is that Unitree develops a lot of their core technology in-house. I'm talking about things like motors and sensors. What's the advantage of doing that?
It's huge. By making their own key components, they get a serious edge in terms of technology. And that means they can fine-tune every single part for better performance and make things more cost-efficient. It also means they're not as reliant on other companies, which is a big deal these days. They're basically creating their own little robotics empire.
And it's not like they're doing everything solo. They've got that partnership with NVIDIA, right?
Right. Working with NVIDIA is a big move, especially for their G1 EDU robot. It uses NVIDIA's Orin controllers. What that does is give the robot a major boost in AI processing power, so it can handle more complex tasks and learn way faster.
So they've definitely made a name for themselves with the quadruped robots, but it's their humanoids that are generating a ton of buzz now. Let's talk about those, starting with the H1. What can you tell us?
The H1 is their full-size humanoid robot, and it's really impressive. Stands about 180 centimeters tall, weighs around 73 kilograms, and it can walk at over 1.5 meters per second. But get this, it could potentially go much faster, maybe even up to 5 meters per second.
Whoa, wait, did you say 5 meters per second? That's like really fast for a humanoid robot.
It is. That's about 5.5 miles per hour. And it has this 360-degree depth sensing system that uses both 3D LiDAR and a depth camera. It's also got a replaceable battery with a pretty big capacity and uses their very own high-performance M107 joint motor.
5.5 miles per hour, wow. So what are some of the other big breakthroughs with the H1?
The big ones are the autonomous navigation and the stable walking gait. Those are huge achievements, especially coming from a company in China. One report said it has 34 degrees of freedom. That means all its joints can move in a bunch of different ways, so it can make really complex, natural-looking movements. It's also got these high-torque actuators in its joints. Basically, that gives it the strength to do all sorts of tasks. And its vision system, with stereo cameras and LiDAR, well, that lets it see and interact with its environment. Battery life is estimated to be about 2 hours of active use.
The H1 sounds super advanced, but I also saw something about the G1. It seems like they're going for a different market with that one.
You got it. The G1 is more affordable, coming in at around $16,000. It doesn't have as many degrees of freedom as the H1, but it's still got 23. 6 in each leg, 1 in the waist, and 5 in each arm. It's equipped with a depth camera, 3D LiDAR, an 8-core CPU, and this fancy force-position hybrid control system with dual encoders. This one's really geared towards research, education, and maybe some light industrial work.
So it's meant to be a more accessible platform for people who want to experiment with robotics and learn.
Exactly. It's got a 9,000 mAh battery, built-in air cooling, and remember that EDU version we talked about? Well, that one's got NVIDIA's Orin platform, making it even more powerful for research and education.
All this tech, all this innovation, it's got to cost a fortune. How's Unitree funding all of this? I've heard they've been pretty successful at raising money.
Oh, they have. They've gotten over $155 million in funding through several rounds. The most recent one was in September 2024, a Series C funding round. It was led by the Beijing Robotics Industry Investment Fund and included some pretty big names like Meituan and Sequoia Capital China.
And that wasn't their first big funding round either, right?
Nope. Before that, they closed a massive Series B2 round back in February 2024. They raised almost $139 million from investors like Meituan again, Goldstone Investment, and Source Code. All that money is crucial for them to keep developing new products, do research, expand their business, and grow their team.
So with all this investment in tech development, where does Unitree stand in the global robotics market? Are they becoming a real leader?
Well, they claim to be the very first company in the world to sell high-performance quadruped robots. And they say they're the top seller in that category. And their pricing, especially for the G1 Humanoid at $16,000, is really competitive.
You mentioned Figure AI, which has a pretty big valuation, right? Like billions of dollars. How does Unitree compare to a company like that?
Figure AI is valued at a whopping $2.6 billion. It seems like they're aiming at a different part of the market, maybe focusing on those really high-end applications. Their prices aren't public, but it's safe to say that they're probably a lot higher than Unitree's G1. So Unitree is probably trying to reach a wider audience with their more affordable prices.
What about those big names, the established players like Boston Dynamics and Tesla?
Yeah, Boston Dynamics has their Spot robot, which is super advanced, but comes with a hefty price tag, over $75,000. Tesla's working on their Optimus humanoid, but it's still in development. Estimates put the price around $20,000. And here's the thing, Unitree's G1 Quadruped is not only way cheaper than Spot, but it might even be faster than both Spot and Optimus. Unitree seems to be all about balancing high performance with affordability, especially with an eye towards making their tech accessible for research and education. Their G2, for instance, at $2,800, really undercuts competitors with similar features like LiDAR and AI movement. That could be a game changer for smaller research labs and businesses.
So they're trying to make this technology more accessible to everyone. Makes sense. Now let's move beyond the tech itself. What are some of the real-world applications for Unitree's robots?
They're all over the place. We've seen them in entertainment. They were even featured in the CCTV Spring Festival Gala and the opening ceremony of the 2022 Winter Olympics.
That's pretty high profile. And aside from entertainment.
In research and education, they offer special versions of their robots, like the G1 EDU and Go2 EDU. These have extra features specifically for academic programs and research. Industrially, their robots are being used for all sorts of tasks. Things like inspections in dangerous places, fire and rescue operations, and even in fitness with some of their more agile models. And of course, material transportation is a big focus for their B2 industrial quadruped. What's really cool is that by building their own components, they're not as dependent on other companies. That can help them keep costs down and make sure the robots are super efficient and work perfectly for all these different uses.
All right, so Unitree has made huge progress in a very short amount of time, but they're in a very competitive market. What are some of the big challenges they're facing?
Well, there's the competition from those established players like Boston Dynamics. They've been around longer and have a lot of resources. Then there are the newer companies like Tesla, Agility Robotics, and others who are entering the robotic scene. And then there's the technology itself. Getting to that level of full autonomy, like what we see in the movies, well, that's a really tough challenge for humanoid robots. There are a lot of hurdles to overcome.
What about the future? Any hints about what Unitree has got planned?
There are rumors about a Unitree H2 maybe coming out in 2025. And there's talk about them exploring swarm robotics, which is basically using a bunch of robots working together to get things done. There are even whispers about them using really advanced AI, maybe even something like GPT-4, in their robots.
So taking everything into account, what's your take on Unitree? Where are they now, and what does the future hold for them?
In my opinion, Unitree is a real game changer. They're shaking things up in the robotics world. Their focus on affordable prices combined with how fast they're innovating has given them a strong foothold in both the quadruped and the humanoid markets. They'll face some challenges for sure, but with all that financial backing, their tech advancements, and all the potential uses for their robots, I think they could become a major player in the robotics industry.
So, to wrap up our deep dive, in just a few years, Unitree Robotics has become a major innovator in robotics. They've pushed the limits of what's possible with both quadruped and humanoid robots, and they're making this cutting-edge tech more affordable for everyone. We've talked about how versatile their robots are, from entertainment to industrial uses.
Absolutely. And that commitment to making advanced robotics affordable is crucial. It's opening up so many new possibilities in research, education, and in practical applications that many just couldn't dream of before.
And that brings us to our final thought. Unitree is making amazing progress, and their approach of offering advanced robots at prices that are actually within reach, well, that has huge implications for the future. How will humans and robots interact in our everyday lives? As this technology becomes even more available, what new doors will open up in different industries and even in our homes? It's a really exciting time, and the possibilities are pretty much endless.